Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations is the best Ace Attorney game. It manages to perfectly wrap up the story, and it handles the characters of Mia, Phoenix, Dahlia, and Godot very well, weaving all four of them together in the game's narrative. In this video, I will talk about why Trials and Tribulations is the best Ace Attorney game. The game begins by immediately subverting our expectations. Going into it, I wondered how they were going to do the tutorial. In the first game, we played Phoenix's first case, and in the second game, the writers gave him amnesia so they could have an excuse to do another tutorial. This question is answered very quickly in the game's intro cutscene. There's a murder, and when the camera cuts to the culprit, it's... you? Phoenix Wright, looking a lot more... pink. We then get thrown into the courtroom lobby as Mia Fey, 2 years before the first Turnabout. Our defendant, Phoenix Wright. He's way different from the Phoenix Wright we know today. Marvin Grossberg serves as the tutorial for this case. This first case, Turnabout Memories, immediately tells us this game is going to be different. For one, this is the first time we control anyone other than Phoenix Wright. It's also the first of 2 flashback cases in this game, diving more into the history of Mia Fey and Phoenix Wright. Mia Fey is written differently from Phoenix as well. She has a lot more internal quips, and they're honestly pretty funny, at least to me. The true culprit in this case is Dahlia Hawthorne, Phoenix's girlfriend. Yep, this guy managed to get a girlfriend. If he can do it, so can you, incels. Back in the present, we catch up with Phoenix, Maya, and Pearl. Taking place 7 months after the conclusion of Justice for All, the stolen Turnabout introduces Prosecutor Godot, a mysterious character who harbors a lot of disdain towards Phoenix. Like Turnabout Memories, the first day of this case contrasts heavily with anything before it. There's no murder. You're defending Ron Delight, a man accused of being the infamous thief Mask to Mask. Right after the first day, when you prove Ron Delight innocent and that the true culprit is Ace Detective Luke Atme, it turns out there was a murder, and the alibi that you used to prove Ron innocent actually implicates him in it. On the final day, you manage to prove your client innocent of this murder, and actually convict Luke Atme as the real killer as well. The arguable worst case in this game is the third one as per usual, but once again this case does something different. It's most well known for the whole fake Phoenix Wright thing. Yep, there's an imposter in this case. Furio Tigre. A man who looks almost nothing like Phoenix Wright manages to trick the judge and everyone else into thinking he's Phoenix Wright. Gumshoe's #1 anime waifu Maggie Bird was the one defended by this fake Phoenix Wright, and of course now she's in prison. Gumshoe comes to Nick, pretty angry of course, so he gets us to take on her case and appeal. Now this trial gives us a chance to better understand Prosecutor Godot. He truly hates Phoenix, and thinks he doesn't belong in the courtroom. On the first day of the trial, we learn potentially the most important fact in the game. Godot cannot see red on a white background. He completely misses the bloodstain on a white apron presented as evidence, a fact which comes into play later. My favorite part about this case is the ending. Not having decisive evidence needed to bring justice to Furio Tigre, Phoenix comes up with a plan. He bluffs, getting Tigre to admit that he killed the victim by accident, winning the case, and freeing Maggie Bird. Oh man, Turnabout beginnings. If you notice, one thing I like about each case is that they really subvert your expectations, and probably the biggest example is in Turnabout Beginnings. The case is basically Bridge to the Turnabout, the prequel. It goes more into the history of Dahlia and Godot. Diego. In this case, you play as Mia Fey again in her first ever trial. Your co-counsel, a defense attorney named Diego Armando. The game never outright says that he's Godot in this case, but they make it pretty clear that it's him. Alright, now a couple sentences about the actual contents of the case then. So you're defending a death row inmate named Terry Falls. He's accused of murdering a woman named Valerie Hawthorne after he escaped from prison. Naturally, he didn't do it, and the real culprit is Dahlia Hawthorne. This case is most known for its ending. No verdict is handed down because your client commits suicide on the stand. This is by far the darkest moment in the trilogy, and once again a massive subversion of expectations. It works as a fantastic preview to the final case and ties in perfectly with it, making some of the emotional climaxes of that case hit that much harder. And finally, we talk about Bridge to the Turnabout. This is the best case in the series. I don't care if you think this case, or this case, or this case, or this case, or this case is better. Your opinion is incorrect. I'm not going to give a full rundown of the case because eventually it's going to get its own video as it deserves one. I'm going to talk about why I think it's the perfect finale for the game instead. This is the only game out of the 3 original games to have the main prosecutor be the final culprit. Past that, Godot is a fantastic character who, while incredibly flawed, is at least a little relatable. This case manages to perfectly tie in the 4 main characters of this game's stories, and conclude them while still fulfilling the player. Not a single plot element is left unresolved. Even though this case is obviously really long, none of the days really drag at all for me. The first day is probably the worst one, but I mean you literally get to play as Edgeworth, so the point is moot. This was the perfect end to one of the best visual novel trilogies of all time. I mentioned just a couple sentences ago that this game has 4 main characters. They are Phoenix, Godot, Dahlia, and Mia. All 4 of these characters are intertwined in a way that feels perfectly natural. For example, Dahlia, the main antagonist, interacts with all 3 of these characters in a way that majorly impacts their story. She nearly gets exposed by Mia Fey, which leads her to poison Godot, which leads her to meeting Phoenix, which leads Phoenix to meeting Mia Fey and eventually becoming a lawyer. As for Godot, his motivations are perfectly clear and easy to understand as well. The love of his life, Mia Fey, died while he couldn't even protect her. His brain irrationally blames the only other man in her life, Phoenix Wright. Sure, this is a flawed premise, but that's just how people work. We aren't perfect, and neither are our favorite characters. As a player character, Mia is quite a bit different than Phoenix. She's more confident, for example. She feels a lot more in control than Phoenix does, at least once you pass the tutorial section of the first case. Her pop culture references probably blew minds in 2007, and I prefer her quips over Nick's. Oh, and also, I love how this game subtly uses animations to show character inspiration. For example, a lot of Mia's animations are very similar to Phoenix's, and young Edgeworth resembles Manfred von Karma. It's a touch you don't really notice unless you're looking for it, but it's appreciated by me nonetheless. You probably noticed that I hadn't touched on the most iconic moment in the series yet, and that's because I wanted to save it for the music section. Ace Attorney communicates a lot through its music, how to feel, the motivations of a character, etc. But one thing that every fan understands is what happens when the music keeps playing when you present evidence. Bad. It means bad. However, the final moment flips this on its head. No matter what, the music keeps playing and Godot says the same line. This gives the player an oh shit moment, making the final objection that much sweeter. Cornered returns for this moment. This tells the player that this is Phoenix's moment. It's Ace Attorney's most iconic song. I'm sure just about everyone has the same experience when it starts playing, and unfortunately I can't talk about it otherwise this video would get age restricted. Just know, it's glorious. Oh, and also the original DS version of Cornered 2004 is probably my favorite song in the series. Yeah, I put Lying Coldly above it in my Pursuit theme rankings, but I don't care. The rest of the soundtrack is phenomenal, a 10 out of 10 as I said in my video reviewing the trilogy. The Courtroom Suite from top to bottom is my favorite in the series. In fact, every song except for the Cross-Examination and Pursuit themes are my favorite. I even come back to the Courtroom Lobby theme regularly, and I couldn't even tell you what any of the others sound like. The Trial theme immediately sets the tone for the game when you hear it. It's way darker than the other two. I like the Cross-Examinations themes, especially in Moderato. When I end up ranking the Confess the Truth themes, 2004 is going to be my number 1, which is an unpopular opinion, but I just love it, so fight me. Pursuit Caught was my second least favorite Pursuit theme, but my opinion has definitely changed on it since then. I'm going to retroactively bump it to number 5. Music plays such an important role in how we view these games, outside of
Objection! Hold it! Take that!
We don't hear any voices. The games are played entirely through reading. Music sets the mood. It lets us know when a moment is truly epic, or sad, or happy. So the fact that this game's soundtrack is so good at conveying emotion is just the cherry on top of a great game. Alright, well that's a good place to end. Subscribe if you'd like, and if you made it this far, reply to a random comment saying that you like large bananas. Thank you.